Horns up guys, this is Demonstealer here from Demonic Resurrection, and I'm here to talk to you about the 4 most inspirational metal albums of my life. Now, I've moved house recently, so I don't have all my CDs and records with me, so I just listen to everything on Spotify for now, so I can't show you the albums, but let me tell you about the albums that did have an impact on my life. First of all, if you didn't know, I am from India. I live in a city called Mumbai, and it was hard to come by a lot of metal music. I mean, we did have your Metallica, Iron Maiden sort of albums, Slayer albums available in stores because they were on major labels, but a lot of obscure stuff we didn't have access to. There were also a lot of pirated albums of like Testament and Sepultura and Napalm Death that you could find if you really hunted around, but largely we got everything off the internet. And I was very lucky that I had family in the US who would buy CDs and send them to me when someone was traveling. So I got access to a lot of music thanks to that, as well as the internet. So the albums that I would consider that had a huge impact on me as a musician and as a metalhead, I obviously got to start off with one of my favorite bands of all time, Dimmu Borgir. Now, it was Enthroned Darkness Triumphant that really kind of got me into Dimmu, but I think it was Puritanical Euphoric Misanthropia, the album that really sort of inspired me and had a huge impact on me as a musician. That album is just perfection. I think that's the best way to describe it. It is dark, it is melodic, it is intense. Every element just fit perfectly on that album, whether it was the keys or the clean vocals, Nick Barker's incredible drumming, even the drum sound and the production. I know they've re-released the album being remixed and stuff, but there's just something about the original that has a charm like no other. As a songwriter, as a vocalist, as a drummer, as a guitar player, every bit of that album is super inspirational. Like hands down a 10 on 10 album. And I don't think, irrespective of had the lineup stayed the same, I think it's just one of those albums that can't be topped. I think many bands have like a album in their discography that they just cannot beat. Like that was the peak of Dimmu Borgir in terms of songwriting, production, everything. I love the new Dimmu stuff. I love the way they've evolved as a band, and I love the new sound and the new songs as well, but Puritanical is just the best. I think the second album I would put is Blind Guardian's A Night at the Opera. I'm a huge sucker for good, clean vocals, and Blind Guardian's album A Night at the Opera is just a masterclass in melody, in songwriting, in how to sound epic. It's almost like a theater production. Like I recently watched Hamilton, the musical, and I somewhere connected that to Blind Guardian's album. That's what it feels like. That's what the Blind Guardian album feels like. It's majestic. It tells a story. Huge impact on me as a musician. It just kind of taught me about harmony and how you can really tell epic stories with the music. And Hansi's vocal range is just on another level. So that was another hugely inspirational album for me. Another one I would say, and this would probably have my favorite song of all time, would be Strapping Young Lad's City. It's one of the albums that probably a lot of musicians would not have counted in their top albums of all time. And in fact, when I got into Strapping Young Lad and Devin Townsend's music, nobody in India had even heard of him. I was like one of these random people in the scene who would go on about Strapping Young Lad and Devin Townsend, and everybody would be like, who's that? So I love Devin as a creative person, like his musical range, his vast array of projects. I literally followed his footsteps. I had multiple projects of my own, trying to do different things. I created a punk project, or like a grindcore project, a death metal project, and was all inspired by Devin, seeing how he could channel so many different sounds into so many different projects, and yet each one of them was incredible. I think Strapping Young Lad is the one that really connected with me the most, because I was a young, angry teenager, and Strapping Young Lad is pure rage. Like, and of course Devin Townsend's vocal abilities, Gene Hoglan on the drums. I mean, I don't think you could ask for a better lineup for an album. So Strapping Young Lad's City, top album. My favorite song in the whole world, Detox, is on that album. That song is just like manic, melodic, and just, it was something I connected to on a very I don't even know how to describe it, on a different level, you know. So yeah, that's my third top album, most inspirational. And I think the final one would be Death, The Sound of Perseverance. I think that album and Death as a band, Chuck Schuldiner as a musician, kind of also shaped the way I have been as a musician. So like Chuck, I dealt with lineup changes across my career, with different albums having different lineups, and you know, Chuck was kind of the driving force behind Death, and similarly for me in Demonic Resurrection, I have had to be that, and I've always looked to work with the best musicians so that I could bring my musical vision to life, and not just that, take it to the next level. So for me, Sound of Perseverance was like an incredible album. When I heard that opening of Scavenger of Human Sorrow, I thought it was an octopus drumming, because I was a 16 or something, 16 or 17, and I had just gotten into metal, and I was listening to Metallica and Iron Maiden and a little bit of Pantera, and those bands were already blowing my mind. And then I heard Death and I was like, whoa, this is like next level. And the thing is, I got into metal around 98 or 99, so I actually missed most of Death's earlier material and got into Death from The Sound of Perseverance and then went backward. So for me, this album has a special place, I guess a little more than the other albums, though I would say Symbolic comes a close second. So these are my top 4 albums of all time, the ones that inspired me as a young metalhead in India, trying to make it in the metal world. And yeah, I hope you found this video inspirational, exciting, informative, something. And yeah, I'll see you when I see you. Until then, cheers and stay metal.